you'd be able to know. Exactly. Exactly. So
you kind of like, that's why like you don't touch the doorknob, but if you look at the door and see that the door is hot.
exactly.
Got
Exactly.
it. Got it.
And if you look at these cars pass by, you can see some of the heat coming off the car.
Comes a pedestrian, he'll light up.
Yeah, he'll light up. Yeah, you see.
Do you use false color or do you just use the grayscale?
Just the grayscale.
Okay.
Just the grayscale.
And so you're saying that the actual display is built into the mask?
Yeah, we have this, and then we also
okay.
we also have it built into the mask, which I don't like. It's not really that great.
Okay.
So what this is a gas detector. And so what we do is when we have like a carbon monoxide incident, we turn to the carbon monoxide, we bring it outside and let it set up. Okay. Now it just went to zero, so now we go in the house and we start checking around and seeing if there's CO, and we can use the wand to check around the, like the furnace, the dryer, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
what other gases does it detect?
It does the percentage of gas.
Uh-huh.
We can also track gas if it's outside.
Oh.
And then also it does the oxygen level. So if we switch it to oxygen,
so
that's,
O2, and then it's going to get your reading?
Yep, so there it is. 20.9 is what it's reading now.
Okay.
So if we went into something that was 10.5,
mm-hmm.
It's, and same thing, with life. Humans are life, fire is life. So if it's the oxygen concentration is below 15, that fire can't survive, neither can we.
Interesting.
So like with natural gas, you have to worry about exploding, but you also have to worry about it taking over the oxygen. So then you walk in, so we'd walk in and we'd find, if we're not getting gas readings, we'll check the oxygen level. Hey, the oxygen level's low here, so something must be going on.
Okay.
Whether it's not carbon monoxide or anything like that.
Huh.
Nobody fart, he'll be able to read it.
What's that?
Nobody fart right now, he'll be able to read it.
Too late, Andrew, sorry.
So, here's our hose. That's what's called a high-rise pack. Oh, we can show you this too. These are what we call cross lays. So, we have different, that's 150, that's 200, that's 250. So depending on what length we might need, we can grab the length. Usually this length, if we have a car fire or something, is what we're gonna grab. This is a hydrant wrench. So if follow me. This is a dry barrel hydrant. So down there's kind of like a clamp that's holding all the water back. So what we would do is we'd hook up our hose here. Fits this on here, and we go in a counterclockwise motion. So what's that going to do? That's going to bring the clamp that's holding all the water, because there's all water right in here. But here's where the clamp is, so there's no water able to come up. As you turn it, it's on a spindle. So this clamp is going to come all the way to the top and allow the water to come out of these 3 spigots right here. So that's what a hydrant wrench's for. You can also use it to remove the caps. So that's one of the tools we have right now for that.
Adam, we spent a little time with Fred, Mr. Gillespie.
Yep.
Speaking with him, and I'm looking at just a common, the commonalities and the contrast between his department, I guess, his job, and I mean, clearly, you have the same dangers and risks and all that, but it seems to me, and this is just my impression, that their department in Erie is really how would I put it, like stretched thin in certain ways, that they're responding to calls that are not fires, that they're like almost like they're being dispatched almost like police or like social workers for people who OD or something like that. So I'm assuming this is very different cultures, different town, different all that stuff. But that's not something that you folks are tasked with, right? That's what the
not right now, unless it's on the highway. Any medical incident on the highway we'll go to.
Okay.
But if it's not on the highway, but I see that in the next year and a half, we will probably respond to all medical calls. And
wow.
And we do have the Narcan on here if somebody does an opioid, overdose or something.
Is that something you're seeing more and more of, that you folks are being asked to do more and more?
Oh, absolutely. Because, and here's the thing, the Millburn Short Hill Squad is all volunteer. Nobody wants to volunteer anymore.
Oh, I see.
And that's across the country. That's across the country.
Yeah.
So, it's just, but we're, I've known Fred a while. We're somewhat similar.
So the thing is, we're working with both of you.
They're more of a city. We're more of a suburban area, so we don't get the frequency of fires that they do.
And you don't have the lake either.
Have the what?
The lake. He's got a lot of...
Yeah, no, we have a lot of ponds, but we definitely, we do not have the lake. So here's the SCBA. So, what we do, turn it on. There we go.
So the only thing missing from SCBA is you, and this is not underwater.
Right.
Scuba, right? That's
You actually can wear these underwater, but it's not recommended.
Uh-huh.
So if I was wearing turnout gear, throw it on like this. Now, here's the pass alarm that I was talking about. So if I stand still, see if I can get it to work. So I've just been motionless. This is what it's going to start to do. It's going to start to get louder and faster. So that's it.
And that's what you heard, all you heard at World Trade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then this is a regulator. Basically, this shouldn't be tangled up like this. So if I have my face piece, put it on, click it in, put the hood over, and that would be it. But yeah, this is probably, whoop, thanks. This is probably, you can just put them over there. This is probably one of the best safeguards that we have. You used to have to turn them on. Now they're automatic. So now they just automatic, when you turn on the tank, they instantly go on. And if you're motionless for 30 seconds, so we'll be standing there at the scene of like, if we're a rapid intervention crew, which is a crew that solely stays on the outside of a building in case some firefighter gets trapped or anything inside, they'll go in to get him or her. So these go off a lot. We have to like shake and everything. Now these things will hurt your back. They're not very, you know, they're not really made. They're made for air.
How would you describe the accuracy of your equipment?
Very good. Very good. I mean, the problem with this is, you know, when you go into and we do train for it, when you go into a fire, there's a lot of wires and things hanging down, so you can get entangled in this. So that's,
Yeah, you had mentioned before, like you could likely be crawling a lot.
you will be crawling a
You
lot.
will be crawling.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's got to be hard on your body right there with all that gear.
Absolutely.
Let alone you can't see.
Yep. Exactly.
And now this is one of your like main engines, correct?
One of our main, yes, this is the first new engine out of headquarters.
So like this would be like what you typically would take the calls.
Yes. Yeah, so if they got a call right now, this is what they're taking. So you see the engineer, the driver, stores all the gear in here. We want to try to keep as much gear out of the cab as we can. And then they'll come and gear up and then start hitting the, working the pump panel.
So the majority of the fire truck is tank for water, right?
500 gallons of water. Any more than 500 gallons, we have to tap it to a hydrant. They're all nozzles and appliances. Hydration unit, as we talked about before. So different nozzles, different adapters. We also have, so we try to think of anything, any situation that we get ourselves into. Because here you have two different towns. These are two different towns, so you have a male or female going to the male. So the male outlet might be like another town. Let's see. The yellow is national standard. The blue is for Millburn. We don't really have a lot of the blue anymore, but you can see how that goes together like that. So if we have two different items with two different threads, we can put them together like this.
How common is it for you to show up and be like, "Ooh, we got to use that adapter"?
Very common, especially when we go out of town. Very common.
Yeah.
When you go out of town, it's normally just to like surrounding areas, right?
It could be anywhere in New Jersey. It could be in New York City. We 9/11, we went into Staten Island and covered for them for the day. So there's fuel where we keep the spare SCBA bottles. Wheel chocks. You park on hill, even if you're not on a hill, you still use the wheel chock so the rig doesn't roll forward or backward. We've had a lot of problems with that.
How long do you think fire trucks stay in condition for usually?
20 years. Try to replace them every 20 years.
And then what happens to them?
They get auctioned off or they get scrapped. So if we have oil spills or grease spills, that's what's called speedy dry, and we just throw it on, it absorbs, and then we can scoop it up, and that way the oil, if there's like oil from an automobile accident or something, or antifreeze, it also protects it from going into the waterways, so that's good. Flares, got the air chisel there.
So that's a what's the word I'm looking for? That's something that's a supply item.
Yeah.
You use that, and you got to like, so if you come back after an incident, you have to do some sort of after action report, or do you have have to.
No, you just have to fill. You just have to fill up the containers and
You
put
have stock.
and I have to write them a report as a captain. We used XY amount of speedy dry on this call. We use 2 barrels. We use 3. Any more than 2 barrels, then we have to call for more. If it's any more than 5 bags of speedy dry, we have to call the hazmat team. That's out of Nutley.
I see. Okay.
Has that ever happened?
Yes, happens a lot. You got these trucks with number 2 fuel oil, and they go around the corner too fast, and it spills all over the place. You want to prevent it, 1, from getting on the road, 2, from getting in all the storm drains. So that's big. This is our LBH. So this is what's called the supply line. It goes from the hydrant to the engine. So when we run out of 500 gallons of water, we're going to be using the hydrant water, switching over from pump to hydrant, tank to hydrant, and this is it. This is what we use. This is a 5-inch hose, and there's 1,000 feet of it. So pretty much anywhere we can get. And then just more adapters and everything for the engineer there. That's a hydrant bag. In addition, if we need to tighten up couplings, we can use this over the couplings. The couplings are what I showed you before, the male and female. We tighten it up. Let's see. So you keep, that's a longboard. As if somebody has a spinal injury or something, we use that. Obviously, step ladder. Everybody watch your heads. So this is a closet hook or a New York hook. So when I told you about those voids that get in, it can get in between the ceilings, between the floors and stuff. So we would go and we would go punch it into the ceiling and try to pull the ceiling down. Pull it away from us. We don't want to pull it towards us because it's heavy, it's wet. But this is how we look for fire. And a lot of people think we're doing damage. We're not doing damage. We're actually trying. We don't want to put out a fire and then 2 hours later go, the building's on fire again because we missed a little pocket of fire. It grew and became big. So we want to be very complex and pull down walls, pull down ceilings, look for any source of hidden fire that could possibly be there. And so, you know, and believe me, you guys can hold on to that if you want. See how heavy it is. Think of all your gear. You have your air tank on, you're on air, and then you're using that, reaching up ahead of you and trying to pull it down.
How many times have you used this?
Thousands.
What can you use that for?
That's mostly for cutting tree branches. I'll show you the big saws in a second. Yep.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I think it goes.
I'm recording the whole thing because I can't take notes outside. Yeah, it's funny.
This one right here, this is my invention. This is our decon kit. And we basically have soap in it, a brush, we have some wipes in it, some bags if we need to store our gear, and it also has a garden hose in it. And basically when we come out of a fire, what we do, we brush over boots. I want to do the whole gear, but we don't have the second set of gear. So most of the contaminants is on your boots. So I put it on the, I said, look, let's just clean off our boots before we get back in the apparatus so we're not tracking it around and everything. Salvage covers, very important. Obviously, if you have a top floor fire or second floor fire, water's going to be coming down. You want to try to protect as much furniture, whatever you can. So we use these salvage covers. 2 members take it, we deploy it out, and we cover the furniture so the furniture is not getting wet. Smoke damage you can't do anything about, but water you can. So we have tarps, we have runners, life safety rope right here. This rope can only be used once. If somebody's up on a, being trapped and you have to lower somebody down to an upper floor to get them out. Once this rope is used, it's out of service.
But why is it out of service?
Because it did an impact load. Once you have a load on it, it's out of service. You can use it for something else, but you can never use it for a life safety rope again.
It's like if you had a bicycle accident and your helmet got impacted, you can't use that helmet anymore.
Exactly.
When you say you'd use it for something else, like what would you like repurpose it to?
Just a utility line. If you go into a large area like a warehouse and you need to do a search, you can actually take that rope and tie it. Just as long as it doesn't have a load on it anymore, because if you put one person on, it's really gonna put stress on the rope. And could you use it again? Yeah, there's always a possibility, but you wouldn't want to take that chance. The only time I've seen that chance was back in 1991 with Rescue 1 and FDNY, and they had 2 victims on either side of the building. And Captain Brown, who sadly died in 9/11, he decided that he was going to send both his members, one member down one side, take the rope, switch the rope out. So the side that they used to drop the person would be the end, and then the end would be used to drop the other person on the other side of the roof. And they did a very successful rope rescue that day. Now, here's an interesting tool that you guys might find very interesting. It's called the Big Easy. A lot of times we go to auto lockouts.
What is that?
What's that?
What is that?
This?
The auto lockout.
The auto lockout? So if somebody's locked their keys in their car, or maybe their kids are locked in the car, we'll go to an auto lockout. So what we'll do is we'll use this kind of like a blood pressure cuff, and we'll slide it in using these wedges. So put the wedge in, use the bladder, kind of open the door on the side on the jamb there, and then use this little tool. You can get in there, it's got a nice handle on it, and then you try to reach around, and you know how the locks sometimes have the side where you just go in there and you try to hit it. This is relatively new. We've only had it for about 5 years, but it works pretty good. Can't always get in. Sometimes there is breaking a window. It's the way it is, but for the most part, this is usually a very unique thing and does very little damage, which is good. So that's, like I said, that's that's the kind of stuff I can see you guys doing, is inventing something like that. What's the better mousetrap? What's the better way to get to into a vehicle? What's the better way to get into a door?
Yeah, or like if car manufacturers like an override car key that works with any kind of that works with any car, and almost like the fire department, the police department.
Oh, that would be good too.
Is this like your newest piece of equipment?
Relatively. It's relatively new.
I'm just wondering, how old is this fire engine?
How old is this one?
Yes, sir.
It's a good question. I think it's about 10 years.
So halfway through its lifespan, right?
Yeah, halfway through the lifespan.
Do you guys update them like throughout their lifespan? Like say new CAD systems, do you update them, or like you use the equipment you got when you got it?
No, we don't. Sometimes we make modifications. but not always.
How often is that? How
So we
often?
make modifications? Very rarely. Very rarely. What we do is move a lot of equipment around because nobody ever likes the equipment that's on there. So it's like, no, this should be, watch yourself.
I'm good.
This should be at a different place. This should be in a different place.
And what modifications would you guys do if you guys were to?
That's more of the mechanic stuff. Wouldn't really, I don't get involved too much in that. I kind of like the way it's designed, but the people who design the apparatus, we have an apparatus committee of so many members who design it. And if they want to make modifications later, they do. One of the things that we used in Ida, and use a lot of other times, is the water pump. So we submerge that, it will pump down to 2 inches. Anything that's 2 inches or less, we can't do anything about. But we'll plug this in. It's, oh, there it is. Got a little float, so the motor won't burn out. So it shuts off if it gets 2 inches or less. So that was, we use that a lot. This used to work. Doesn't work a lot much anymore. Anybody can figure out what this is?
Looks magnetic.
It is magnetic.
Does it cut stuff?
Right. So if somebody drops their keys or something in the sewer, something like that. But what's the problem now?
It picks up other junk.
Magnetic. They're
They're,
bombs.
right, exactly. They're all plastic, and people still call us out for that, and we're like, there's nothing we can do for you.
Yeah.
So
Or they're not.
you guys can find a retrieval system to get somebody's plastic fob out of a sewer. That would be really helpful to us. So that's one idea that you could use. What kind of grabber, or what kind of thing would allow us to look down a dark sewer, storm sewer, and be able to get somebody's fob out of there.
Not life-saving necessarily, but certainly making someone's day.
Anything that you invent is going to help us help the public. Even if it was some safety system for firefighters, that's still going to help the public. Because you're not, then there's less injury, there's less disease, there's less this, there's less that. So it's going to help them.
That's a quote right there, my friend. If you're not right, you got that.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if you were recording, but
Oh.
That's a Halligan tool. So what we do with this Halligan tool is usually the fork end will go into the jamb of the door, in between the door and the jamb, and somebody here will use the axe like this, and they'll tap it, tap it, tap it, and we force the door open. That's how we get through locks and everything. Most of the time it works, not all the time. A lot more devices are, being locked up heavier and heavier. They're coming out with new locking devices that keep the criminals out, but they also keep us out. So that's, and then we have, your various tools. You have your mini sledgehammer. You have that, pickhead axe. You have all that. Let's see. That you've already seen on the other side. Fire extinguisher.
What are these again? What are these?
Those are spanner wrenches. Oh,
Why are there so
my
many?
mom. I don't need to talk to her.
What is the point of having so many spanner wrenches?
That's for the LDH to open up the the cufflinks on the LDH. Remember, we have a 10 lengths, 10 feet each, 100 feet each. It is 1,000. So it totals 1,000. So if we want to tighten up
Yeah.
the spanners, we can.
But you have to leave it on then, or?
No, you can take it off. It's like a wrench,
Right.
like a pipe wrench. If you're trying to tighten up a pipe, a fitting on a pipe, that's it.
Which was my question. Why is there so many then? If it's like a wrench.
Because when you have 1,000 feet, you might have a lot of couplings to tighten up. So you might have to send all your manpower to that. So this is the MDT. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't even know if it's on.
Mr. Brenner, what is this? some kind of retractable cable?
What are you talking about?
This right here with the.
Oh, that's a this is hooked up to a generator,
Okay.
so we can plug in.
Gotcha.
We need to plug in lights for
Right.
seeing or whatever,
Got it.
or need to run a tool in somewhere.
Got it.
We can run it off of this.
And then it's hot when it lights up. If it's lit.
Right, if it's lit, you got power.
Got
If it's
it.
not lit, you don't have power.
Got it.
Let's get this MBT started. There we go. Wasn't even on. Huh. That's no good.
So I just have a question about when you're driving the fire
Sure.
engine. I don't know if you've driven it or no. Do they have
Oh, yeah, I've driven
any
it.
visibility issues? Like, say,
Sure,
like
there are
when
blind
it's-
spots. Yeah, absolutely. So what do we do for a blind spot when you look in the rearview mirror, or actually there are no rearview mirrors, there's side mirrors. What we've been taught to do is you kind of like lean yourself forward a little bit, and that way you get a better view.
Do any of the trucks have camera systems for visibility, for their own visibility?
For backing up, yes.
Okay.
All new apparatus have cameras for backing up, absolutely.
I mean, I've seen
guessing-
more of the modern school buses
Mm-hmm.
actually have a whole 360 view around them. They have a roof-mounted perimeter lane, visibility. It's pretty
Right.
impressive.
Yeah, we're not that far advanced yet, but we're getting there.
Well, again, if this is 10 years old,
Yeah.
your
Right.
10 more years, that truck's going to
And
probably have.
I'm guessing because in the last 20 years you don't replace them that often, and so it takes a bit before they actually update the technology because you replace them every 20 years. And you probably replace them like they're all around the same age. So we replace them all at the same time.
Right. See if I can figure out how to make this brighter here. That's one of the biggest problems with this is trying to see. But anyhow, no, we don't want that. If you guys go all take a look at it, you'll see that there's a couple calls on there already, and you can look and because unfortunately I don't know how to make it brighter. And you see like that green there? That's a call that somebody on. See, and this is the kind of screens that we get, all dirty, nobody cleans them. So,
Bubbles in the case or whatever.
yeah, let's see.
I can barely see it. I mean, in general, though.
Find a dark location here. But anyhow, so what we do is there's buttons up top, and when we get into the rig, we hit the en route button, and then when we arrive on scene, we hit the arrive button, then we hit the clear button, and that all auto generates the dispatch. So when we go to our reports, it's all there for us. And it's another town. We have 3 towns that's on this CAD. And so, if we're driving and a run comes in, then we just hit responding. We go on the radio. We tell them engine 5-2 is responding, and they'll acknowledge it. We get, and you talk about size up on the scene. So when we get up on the scene, we go, all right, engine 5-2 is on the scene. We have a 2.5-story wood frame residence or a 5-story ordinary. We have smoke showing from the 3rd floor. We have nothing showing. The occupants are in. The occupants are out of the building, or we have people standing out. We don't know if we have occupants in. There are people waving us in. So a lot of stuff that you can get. You're trying to give a visual to the dispatch because they're all the way over in New Providence, and so there's no cameras telling them what we're seeing. So we have to give them a visual of what we're seeing and for all the other incoming units.
So central dispatch, huh? Is that a county thing? Or?
No, it's actually Union County has a county dispatch, but we have New Providence, Summit, Springfield, and Millburn are all on our dispatch. And the reason that Summit and Springfield are so important is because when we have a report of smoke or fire, we get an engine company from Springfield and an engine company from Summit also responding. So you got a total of 4 engines and a truck responding to any incident that's reported fire.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, and we do the same thing for them. If they get a reported fire, we'll go in the Summit or we'll go in the Springfield.
That's a lot of travel and it's a lot of wear and tear on your vehicle.
Absolutely.
I mean, how many? What's the like your normal range? That's got to be what, at least 20 miles, right? If not more.
It can be,
Yeah, that's. I mean, just duration.
depending on where it is in the town.
Time en route and all that.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And we also go into we go into Irvington a lot. We go into Newark here and there. We've been as far as Jersey City before. So there's a lot of different places that we go. Yeah, and you see all the SCBAs. We sit in the seat,
Tied right into the
tied right into it, and you release it from down here, and that's it.
Well, listen, Mr. Brenner, I think we've taken a lot of your time.